Happy Devils Thursday. This is the State of the Fan Address. Yeah, episode 287. Streaming live on Facebook Live, YouTube Live, X Live, and Twitch on the Let's Go Devils Network. I'm your host, Sam Wu, here with Nick Villano, coming to you live from the bunker in North and South Jersey. As news is coming out on social media, particularly Kevin Weeks, that Jacob Markstrom, the New Jersey Devils goaltender, possibly was he a Vezina-worthy candidate? I don't know. Has a knee sprain, according to Kevin Weeks of NHL Network.
Yeah, I do think he was a Vezina candidate. His numbers are a little off from obviously I think Hellebuck's going to win it with a bullet, but he's right up there with all the other top candidates. You know, Mackenzie Blackwood's in that conversation weirdly this year. Who else is in there? Shesterkin has the numbers again. Linus Ullmark has been really good over the past 2.5 months. There's a lot of really good candidates out there, but I think Markstrom was definitely going to be the top 3 before this injury. I think this injury wipes it out. I don't think he's going to make it in there anymore because I think the biggest thing that he had going for him is that he was playing almost every night and consistently playing well. 2 things here. You mentioned Kevin Weeks says it's probably a sprain. I would imagine he comes back when the Four Nations is over, probably then. That's probably the ideal time when he's going to return. It makes more sense to slow play it. What's Four Nations? It's in 4 weeks, right?
Mm-hmm.
4 or 5 weeks. So it'll give him there's another 2 weeks after that. So you got 6 or 7 weeks.
Is there a pun
knee
there?
Sprain? Yeah, maybe. But you're talking about a month, and I think you could survive it. Especially here's the thing that we don't talk about a lot. The Devils have had such a crazy schedule to start the season that this comes at a time where they don't have a back-to-back until after the Four Nations. So they really could just play Jake Allen straight through. I think it's 7 games from now into the Four Nations. So you can realistically just play Jake Allen for all of them. I know that there's that 40 games that you're trying to avoid, so you don't give Montreal your second-round pick. And I agree, you should probably do everything in your power to avoid that. So maybe you give Nico Dawes a game or 2, or maybe even Polter, who's played really well as of late. I know he's had a couple stinkers, but he just had a game Wednesday, where he stopped 29 of 30 shots, albeit against Bridgeport, who's terrible. But, it's still 29 of 30 shots. It's still a great performance. But again, I think you're going to see Dawes get called up. I think you're going to see Markstrom go on IR. I think they're going to move some salary around. So they might go with less guys. So you might see them put Markstrom on IR and then maybe send down. I don't even is it Colton White? Is he the guy who's the extra right now? Or did he get sent down? No, who's the extra right now? I guess it's McDermott, but he's usually in the lineup. Throwing myself off now. I guess there's a couple of injuries, right? The Hulla injury is the one that's kind of throwing everything off because he's still on the roster, but he's been practicing.
I think Dowling's been looking pretty good, if you ask me.
He definitely looked better yesterday, but he was the guy on the Meyer Mercer line, right?
Believe so, yes.
Yeah, it's the lines got shuffled in the middle of the game on top of being shuffled going into the game, so it was hard to keep track. But I think because it was supposed to be Cotter, right? It was supposed to be Meyer, Mercer, Cotter, but Palat got sick, and they had to sit him out, so they had to put Cotter on the first line with Bastian and Hughes, or second, wherever it doesn't matter what number, but they're on the Hughes line with Bastian and Hughes. And then Dowling had to come in. So, that's how it worked out. Dowling looked good yesterday. The problem is the problem with Dowling is if the Devils start to get unconfident, he takes that to the nth degree. And during the stretch, he didn't take a shot prior to last night's game for 7 games. I can't have anybody on the ice who's not going to take a shot for 2 games in a row. That just can't be a guy in your lineup. I need a guy who's throwing the puck at the net at least. So I need Dowling to play with a little bit more confidence because it's not that he's unskilled, right? Again, I'm not saying he's super skilled, but he's skilled enough to be in an NHL lineup. You could tell when he loses confidence and his game just turns into 100% defensive. He's like a typical fourth liner. When I need a little bit try something out, take a chance here and there. But he was good last night to kind of circle back to your point.
Yeah. I'm just happy Markstrom has his knee sprain rather than something even more serious.
I think.
Go ahead.
I think you could have survived 2 months without him. I think you realistically could have survived. I would have said they should bring back Kakkonen or make a move for a backup because I just don't think Dawes just scares me with his injury history. But I think you could have survived. But this is probably based on it was a scary injury. His knee was buckled up against the post, and then his right knee. He's hurt his left knee, so we don't talk about his right knee. But his right knee got stuck on the back or on the back bar, or whatever it's called. So he got very lucky that he only came out of that with a knee sprain. Because if you see, both legs are buckled in different directions, but both buckled, and he was able to kick out the right leg without injuring it at all. With the left leg, there was nowhere it could go. Again, luckily it was up against the net. It was elevated, so I think there was some give there. So I think he's lucky to not come out of there with a torn ACL or a broken fibula. There's a lot of things that could have went really wrong there. Excuse me. I am happy that the Devils came out of that, or Markstrom came out of it with what is reported just a sprain.
Yeah, and you and I were talking behind the scenes about this. I think it really is a thing where the Devils got lucky, Markstrom got lucky, and really it's a blessing in disguise for the New Jersey Devils. I want to explain this, Nick, because I think you kind of disagree.
You want me to go first, or you want to go?
Oh, I was just, yeah. I mean,
so I assume you mean because he'll get rest that he wasn't going to get during the season.
Kind of.
My issue is the location of the injury. Knees are not typical appendages that, I feel like athletes come back before they're fully recovered almost every time. We saw how long it took Taylor Hall to come back from his knee injury when his wasn't even, I guess his got worse somehow, and they never really told us how. There's some missing information there with the Taylor Hall stuff, but I've seen just too many knee injuries that linger. And, Markstrom was a key cog to their Stanley Cup contention. And now you have to just pray that he comes back and looks like the guy he was before. That side-to-side movement is key for him. How many save of the years did he make where he stretched all the way out from left to right or right to left? There's a lot going on here. But again, it's better than all the other news that it could be, right? It would have been so much worse if he was going to be hurt all the way up to April, and then you only get 2 or 3 games before it's the playoffs. Right now, you're going to get a good month and a half, maybe even 2 months before the playoffs to make sure that he's up to game speed, and you could see how hurt he is. Do you think there's any world where he comes back and he's 80% where they go with Jake Allen in the playoffs?
I'm not that far ahead.
Okay.
Nick, I wanted to explain my
Oh, go ahead.
why I think it's a blessing. It's all about the timing. Now, it depends on the severity of a knee sprain. If it's very severe, you could talk 3 to 4 months. Because let's be honest. Knee sprains are there's really either you feel good or you don't. So it may take some time, especially the nature of the position. I agree with you there, but this is why I think it's a blessing in disguise. I never wanted any of our players playing that Four Nations tournament to begin with, right? He's obviously not going to be in that tournament. And if he is, that's also a win-win situation because that means he's okay. But let's just assume that he's not going to be in the Four Nations tournament. You're talking about 4, 6, 8 weeks of recovery time, assuming that's what it is. We won't really know till tomorrow, how severe it is. So it is kind of subjective, but it gives the New Jersey Devils a chance to focus on their defense and focus on Jake Allen and whoever's the goaltender, that third string that you keep on talking about, Nick, for these situations. This is an evaluation period, and you do have a 2-week break. So in the interim right now, this is a great time to see who will back up, or whoever's backing up Markstrom, how they would perform in a 1A scenario. You rarely get these kind of chances where the Devils have already padded some points. They're in good playoff position. Not the greatest, but good playoff positioning. You've got Jake Allen, who was really meant for this moment. Let's see how he does. Let's see how the rookies do, the young kids do in this scenario. It might also force Tom Fitzgerald's hand to possibly get that third stringer that you wanted. Possibly. And also, when Markstrom does indeed come back, say if he comes back beginning of March, conservatively speaking, or I won't say conservatively speaking, let's just say March. He still has 6 weeks to build up for the playoffs. Plus, you have a Devils defense that I would hope would, let's be honest, Markstrom has bailed out the defense and the offense, everybody, in the past 3 or 4 weeks. Work on the defense, protect your goalie. Let's see how Allen does. Let's see whoever that backup is, and let's see how this all plays out. Is Allen going to be a dud? If he is, I highly recommend Tom Fitzgerald to get that third goalie. And this is the evaluation period to find out what kind of goaltending this team has. If you could tighten up that defense as well, but also when Markstrom comes back, he'll get some games under his belt before they go on that stretch run. And obviously, the wear and tear on a 36-year-old in the middle of the season, having 6 to 8 weeks to rest is not a bad thing.
No,
maybe 40.
I get what you're saying. I definitely get what you're saying. 2 points in there. I did write about 5 guys who could come in.
What's that website again? Sorry.
pucksandpitchforks.com.
Oh, okay.
I wrote an article. No C words over here. I wrote an article about 5 guys who could be the backup. One's Nico Dawes. I'll give you that one for free. But the rest of them, I try to think really outside the box. I did put Tristan Jarry on there, but it's just impossible. It doesn't really work, and I wrote about it, why it doesn't work. But if for some reason the Penguins get desperate and make it work, then the Devils will be interested. But I don't think that's what's going to happen. I think what the more likely situation with Jarry would be that they just pay him to go away. And I think that's still on the table. I think it's probably like 70-30. They just eat it this year and just stick with Jari on the AHL. The two names that I'm interested in, I said Kakkonen already. Kakkonen's currently with the Manitoba Moose in Winnipeg's AHL affiliate. Put one game for Colorado this year. It looked terrible. But it was one game. And he's been like just pulled all over the place. This happened to Aaron Dell one year. I think it was the COVID year, actually. And he played for the Devils a little bit, but he was over the place. Eric Comrie, the Devils have been in this game before. And it's never good for goalies to have to learn new defensive systems in front of them. Kakkonen at least has like an understanding of the room. He understands some of the defensemen. It's a completely different system, but he played really well last year. What do you have, like a 921 save percentage or something?
He wasn't bad.
It was only 6 games.
He wasn't bad.
Yeah, he was good. So he's one guy that I'm interested in. The other guy, y'all are gonna think I'm nuts. You're gonna think I'm crazy, but I'm gonna say it anyway. Jack Campbell. If you remember, Tom Fitzgerald was very interested in Jack Campbell. He chose the Edmonton Oilers over the Devils because they gave him an extra year. I think the Devils offered him 4 years. The Oilers offered him 5. It was a disaster contract. It went so terribly wrong. He played in the AHL last year. It was so bad. He was good in the AHL. I think he played for Springfield. He was very good. I think he had like a 918 save percentage. This year, he signed with the Detroit Red Wings. He has a one-way contract, so he's getting paid his NHL salary in Grand Rapids, but he has a 917 save percentage. He's only played like 6 or 7 games this year, so it's a small sample size, but Detroit has Ville Husso, Alex Lyon. There's another name I'm missing, but then they have the rookie Sebastian Casa, who they really like, who's about ready to go to the NHL. So they really have no need for Jack Campbell. So you get him in for a nothing contract. You only really need him to play like 6 or 7 games at most. At most. Probably less than that. It's probably like 4. Just to keep Allen away from that 40 games mark. And then you keep him on the roster as that third goalie, or you send him in the AHL. Either way, like, what's he going to cost? Would it be more than a 6th round pick for an AHL goalie? The AHL backup? You know what I mean? So I think that's the name that I'm interested in. It just like throwing a dart at the wall, seeing what he has, and paying nothing for it. Because if Markstrom's going to be back in 6 weeks, he just can't pay for a goalie like that. You can't pay for a Varlamov or some of these available goalies, like even like whatever, like Connor Ingram is probably available in Utah, but he hasn't been very good this year after a really strong start. Chris Drieger is a name that I've liked in the past, and he's with Florida, but he's been terrible this year. So it's like, I'm looking at Kakkonen, who again hasn't been good this year, but I have a valid excuse, and I saw him be really good with the Devils last year. And then Jack Campbell, who has been really good in a small sample size. Like, both of them, I think, would cost close to nothing. And it would go, like you said, to that third goalie trick where you just have a guy there. If something flares up for Markstrom, you don't have to dress him. Like, just take the night off, and we'll dress Kakkonen or we'll dress Campbell. And Jake Allen will start. It just gives you so much flexibility. And I've always said, in a back-to-back, you shouldn't have the same 2 goalies in both games. You should have 3 goalies, and one is the backup for both games in case somebody needs to get pulled. And the other 2 guys start. But again, we've circled this wagon a million times. Mm-hmm. I do like the idea of going after just a depth piece, depth only, like a guy who doesn't need to be in the AHL, but is capable of being in the NHL.
Yeah. I haven't researched any other goalies that are out there. I mean, I don't know, who's available. The Jari one is kind of interesting. What Pittsburgh's going to do with him, I think they're going
He's
to
just.
buy him out.
I think it's what. I think it's 3 years after this.
Yeah,
So
I think they're
it's
going to
just
buy
too
him
many
out.
years.
Buy him out. Get it over with. I think Pittsburgh may be in full rebuild mode soon. Or maybe not.
I just don't think they're going to do it with Crosby. I just don't. I think they're going to keep. They're going to be the Lakers, like how the Lakers keep just kind of going for it. That now that LeBron is in the building, and they kind of fight for a playoff spot. That's going to be the Penguins and Crosby. They're going to kind of be in it every year, and it's going to hurt draft picks every year. They're going to get somewhere between 12 and 18 a draft pick, and if they make the playoffs. But there's just they haven't made good draft picks in a long time. The trades that they've made have not brought back the players that they should. Like the Gensel trade last year, like you should have got 2 big futures for Gensel, and say you got Michael Bunting, who now you're going to trade again this year for probably peanuts of what you valued him at. You know what I mean? So it's and that's the thing. I saw a lot of people question Tom Fitzgerald and his acumen during this. What is it, like 2-9 stretch with some overtime losses?
Mm-hmm.
I still think Tom Fitzgerald is one of the best GMs in the game. I just think he's so. Do I think he overreacts? Yeah, that's his biggest gripe. My biggest gripe with him is he overreacts to things. Kind of like, not as bad as Shero used to. Ray Shero used to like completely overreact and like try to fix, try to build Rome in a day. I don't think Fitzgerald's there, but like you saw it this offseason, Alex Jofanci wrote a little bit wrote about this at pucksandfitchworks.com about how Fitzgerald just went so all in on size and grit and lost a lot of the skill that was the identity of the Devils. Just expected Jack Hughes and Nico Hischier and Jesper Bratt to just make up for it. And, it's you're seeing a little bit of that. I think it's fine. Like, I think this team is really built really well. It just has one hole. And it's like they're missing a top 6 winger. They have and here's the thing, Sam. If we get last night's Dawson Mercer, hole's filled. Then you need a third line guy. But if Dawson Mercer could play up to that top 6 level, and you keep getting this version of Palat, which ask a lot. This is the best I've seen Palat play in a long time, outside of that Rangers playoff series. If it all works out, sure, you're in fine shape. But the problem is, and I've said this with the antithesis of it, where it's an 82-game season. There's a lot of different ebbs and flows to hockey, and you're going to be a different team in January than you are in March, than you are in April and May. So it's you just kind of have to like see the forest through the trees when it comes to this team. You have to see that, I don't think Mercer is going to be as bad as he's been all season. I think you're going to start to see a better guy over the next 6 to 8 to 12 weeks. Not saying he's going to be like that superstar we saw 2 seasons ago, but at least like a tweener second or third line guy. I still think, but what you are, if you are, it all depends on what this team wants to be. Do you think you're a Stanley Cup contender? Because that changes how you're going to go about the trade deadline. Because you need a star. You need one more, like not even a star, but you need like a Toffoli type. You need something at least of that ilk, of that level, to get this team to the next level, to the superstar contention window. And it's not in the room. Arseny Gritsik isn't coming this year. It just doesn't make a lot of sense. Brian Hallinen's a good 4th line guy. Nolan Foote didn't turn out to be what we thought it was. Maybe he gets a shot in the NHL anyway because he's been playing well, but he's not going to be a middle 6 guy. You really don't have anything else, right? What was the guy's name? The guy who we traded Graham Clark for. Beckman. Beckman looks all right, but there's a reason why he's not being called up. right? There's something just off about him that they just don't trust that his skills will translate to the NHL. So the guy is not in the room and he's not coming unless you trade for him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think the Devils. I think it'll all come together by April. I think it'll all come together. I think right now all teams go through this lull period, and the Devils are trying to get themselves out of it. I think what the Devils need to do is improve their defensive game, because when they were hot in December, it was their defense limiting to like 12 shots on goal throughout the entire game. I think last night showed that, again, this is a very highly skilled team, a very high hockey IQ, but when they simplify their game last night and go hard to the net, that solved their scoring problems. That's what I've been hollering about the last few weeks, that they weren't creating amount of buzz. They were, they were passing the puck around very nicely, making the extra pass, but I think good things will happen when the Devils are just not playing predictable hockey. And last night, that 3.5-minute flurry was freaking awesome. The forechecking, the heavy forechecking that Sheldon Keefe has brought to the New Jersey Devils. I think Lindy Ruff wanted that, but somehow under Keefe, when they're forechecking, they are so relentless. It kind of reminds me of Peter DeBoer's Swarm It Up. I mean, they were swarming. It was one.
They remind me of the 2012 team a lot.
Yeah, they were swarming, and they were nonstop, and they were unapologetic, and they just kept going. And it was almost like they didn't want to score just to torture the team. So some of the guys were out on the ice for about 2.5 minutes.
Yeah.
And
that's going to work in the playoffs.
Yeah.
I don't know. I understand what you're saying about the Lindy Ruff system, because on paper it should have played that way, but they didn't. Like they were one of the worst teams in the league at preventing zone entries. Like teams, if you got to the neutral zone, you're getting into the offensive zone. There's no resistance in the neutral zone, and I don't know if Lindy wasn't doing a good enough job of teaching like the fundamentals of his system, or if Ryan McGill's message wasn't working, or if they were. It was almost like, and I saw this so much with Kevin Ball, where this dude's like 6'7", and is poking, using the poke check. And, like, I get you have a big reach, dude, but, like, just lay into somebody in the neutral zone and, like, you'll knock them off the puck. Even if you don't lay them out, like, you'll knock them off the puck. Excuse me. And you're seeing that now. Like, even Luke Hughes will lay the body into somebody, and he's not going to drill anybody. It's just not how his body is built. But he separates a guy from the puck. And then there's a guy behind him, or there's guys around him, and they can get it, or it's a scramble for the puck, or it's a board battle, which the Devils can win now. It's such a better version of hockey. And that was the frustrating part. Outside of this weekend was dreadful. The Flyers and the Senators games are two of the worst games I saw all season. Bless be to you if you brave that snowstorm on Sunday to go see the terrible Devils Senators game. Outside the first period, obviously the Devils were really good in the first period, but they didn't score, and they lost. But prior to that, like, the Devils are still doing a lot of things right. They're just losing. It happens sometimes, right? That stinks. It stinks to think of be like, we've lost 7 over the last 9 games, but we've been the better team in probably 7 of them. That'll happen sometimes. You have bad luck stretches. They got robbed a couple times. It was Jacob Markstrom did his best, yeoman's work to carry the team, and it just didn't work out. But you saw it last night where it was I felt it. I was like, it's gonna come. You're gonna get one of those nights where it's just a barrage of goals because they're buzzing. They're getting like they weren't rushing for the last like 5 games, because I think they were almost like they lost their confidence a little bit. And it seems like last night they gained it back, where there was a lot of rush chances. Bryce Elverter made a really good point on, I think it was Mercer's first goal, where Mercer rushed the net without the puck. And because he did that, he ended up in a scoring opportunity because the puck landed right in front of him. And he just turned around and shot the puck and scored. And when you're not rushing the net, when you're not taking chances like that, when you're not playing with confidence and with the tenacity, you're going to miss out on those chances. Then the puck, like, if Mercer's not there, the puck just trickles to his center's defenseman and they clear it. And instead it's a goal in the back of the Bruins net because you're playing with confidence. So I agree 100% with what you're saying.
Yeah, I've been hollering about that for about, I don't know, three weeks. That, to me, that's the difference I saw. What they were doing to the New York Rangers on the 23rd of December and the Carolina Hurricanes on the 27th of December. But on the 28th of December, for whatever reason, after that Natchez, crying wolf injury, it seemed like the Devils just stopped with the fundamentals for whatever reason. But if they can get back on track of what they did last night, that'd be great. I got to read off this one comment, though, off topic. Okay. Katie, the fiancée of Vincent Parisi, our Vinny, wants to offer me a college football truce. And she put the 3-leaf clover in that message.
It's a trap. That's bad luck.
Yeah, I mean, if you want a truce, just say fair and square, Drew Aller gave us the game, and you guys really deserve to beat Ohio State. That would have been a good truce. I would agree to that. So under no precondition will I call a truce, especially when you have the 3-leaf clover. Don't kill me. Don't kill me. Vinny had nothing to do with it. My opinions are my own. Did I just troll?
I'm sitting here in I'm sitting here in West Virginia shirt. Let's talk college basketball.
Did I just troll Vinny Parisi's fiance?
Nah, listen. The
jokes.
Season's over.
Just jokes.
Everybody failed because Ohio State won the national championship.
Yeah,
we could all agree on that. Anyway, here's where I'm at. Actually, can we pivot real quick because we have only a few minutes left, and I need your opinion on this.
All right.
What'd you think of the quarter century team?
Remind me who's on it.
The first team is Jack Hughes, Zach Parise, and Patrick Eliash, Scott Stevens, Scott Niedermeyer, Martin Brodeur. The second team is Scott Gomez, Jamie Langenbrunner, Brian Rafalski, Andy Green, Corey Schneider, and Travis Zajac. Can I tell you what Chico thinks?
Go ahead.
Do you remember when we had Chico on to talk about the top 50 Devils players? Do you remember the guy he was the most angry about my ranking?
Ooh. Was it Andy Green?
No, it was Corey Schneider.
Corey Schneider.
He was upset about where I had Corey Schneider. And Chico was mad that Corey Schneider was on the quarter century team. He said that it should have been Mackenzie Blackwood, which I thought was surprising. And listen, I listed Chico. He's a former NHL goaltender. He's been watching Devils hockey for longer than I've been alive.
And he's a good friend of the podcast, by the way. You got a
good friend of the podcast.
Yeah, very good friend.
He's a good friend of the podcast. I was surprised by that. But what are your thoughts? I just laid out the teams. Is there something that stands out?
When you put these kind of lists together, Nick, is it based on individual success, or do you really think this team could go against another quarter century team of another team? I always wondered that. Like, how do you rank it?
The goal is to get us to talk about it. The goal is the C word you hate so much.
Okay.
That's the goal.
So basically, this is all a bunch of nonsense. Go ahead.
Do you know how I know that, Sam? Is because Jack Hughes is on this team. And he sure is not.
Okay.
So it's all about, getting people talking, getting people thinking about the current garage. Like, Jack Hughes is, 23?
Yeah.
I think he's going to be on this team for a long time. I think he's going to be one of the all-time greats. But Jesper Bratt is in the top 10 of points all time for the Devils. So if you're going to go with one of the young
Sergei
guys,
Brylin on this list?
No, but it's just since 2000.
Just since 2000?
Yeah. So you're not thinking of the McLeans. You're not thinking of the
No, but Brylin played for a very long
did.
time.
But his best numbers were probably like what, 95 to 2002, 2004.
This is where I hate statistics sometimes. I hate numbers, all that. And that's why I'm questioning that, because Sergei Brylin needs to be on this team. That's just my opinion. What's that?
Over Langenbrunner?
Langenbrunner had the leadership. Again, there's intangibles here. Langenbrunner, remember, when he first started his career with the Dallas Stars, ESPN was raving about him because he was a hard-nosed player as a rookie. He was able to win a Stanley Cup with the Dallas Stars, then win a Stanley Cup with the New Jersey Devils, then was able to be the captain of the New Jersey Devils. I have a very special place in my heart for Jamie Langenbrunner because one time during the lockout, nobody knew he was at ShopRite. He was promoting Premio sausages, and nobody knew he was back there, and I spent like 2 hours talking to him. It was the best time. Oh, yeah. He was signing autographs. To Sam, Rangers and Flyers suck. Jamie Langenbrunner. It was awesome. He would just sign anything because he was trying to be a good ambassador of the game, considering that there's a lockout.
There's a lockout.
Yeah, and I remember him explaining to people it's not a strike, it's a lockout. They're locking us out, and we just want guaranteed contracts just like anybody else. So that's what he was telling people. But anyway, I think...
So you're saying you're biased and you shouldn't be... No, I'm just kidding.
No, I'm just saying that these kind of lists are kind of like fantasy hockey, phony.
Sure.
I'll even say the C word. This is Well,
I think it's appropriate in this space, right? This is what you're talking about.
It's like
I mean,
and then you click so many pages. You know what I mean? Pucks and pitchforks. Yeah. Oh, page 1. Who's the first player? Oh, Travis Zajac.
Hey, listen. You get plenty of information and high quality writing in that first page to keep you going. Yeah. I give you a reason to click on those next pages.
Oh yeah, I'm referring to other wannabe sites. Pucksandpitchforks.com I love.
Yeah.
So
and listen, we've flooded with articles this week. So
and because of Jamie Langenbrunner, by the way, that's why I eat the Premio sausage. Yeah, ever since
all these years later. Smart campaign.
Yeah, I mean, we used to eat the Premio sausage. There was one time, I don't know, years ago, I offered my friend, or then friend, I don't know if he's still my friend anymore, to eat the Premio sausage, and he said no. And I'm like, what, we're not friends? So we forced him to eat it, right? And the Devils made a miraculous comeback in that game. So then it's like, all right, eat the sausage. And we would literally hold him down and make him eat the sausage. Anyway, this is before, bullying laws and all that stuff.
I was going to say, this is before social media because that would be on TikTok and
and
Twitter
and way before
the Facebooks.
It may have a picture may have made it on MySpace, but
Okay.
Yeah. So
nobody got canceled on MySpace.
Yeah. And I see Vinny Parisi now is commenting in the YouTube Live.
Vinny Parisi has 2 articles. Wait. Yeah, he has 2 articles on the quarter century team. He made his predictions for the quarter century team, and then he wrote about a third quarter century team if the Devils had a third team, because there's a lot of guys that got left off. Taylor Hall wasn't on the team. Miko Hischier, as I mentioned, was on the team. There's Bryce Salvador, No, there's a bunch of guys. No Ilya Kovalchuk, which
Was Bobby Holik on any of these?
No, because you remember he had that really terrible run with the Rangers. Then I think he went to the Predators after that, right?
He was a significant part of 95 and 2000.
Well, right, but those don't count.
But 2000 counts.
I don't think so. I think it starts, the last 25 years.
What do you think the 1999 to 2000 season was?
It's in the 90s. It's 20th century hockey.
All right.
I'm just doing the math, right? It's 2025. 25 years ago would have been 2000, 2001. 25 seasons since.
Where's
right?
Alexander McGillney? He had an impact.
Somebody brought him up, and I tried to argue it in my head, and then I deleted it because I was like, I don't have a good argument against it because he had that fantastic season in 2001. The impact in 2000, like all of his impact is in the century, and then he had the one, but it's almost like if you're gonna put Jack Hughes on there, then you gotta have to put Mogilny on there, right? Because Mogilny had a season just as good as Jack Hughes' 22-23, and he won a Stanley Cup, or he went to the Stanley Cup.
But I don't think Mogilny played long enough to be on the list.
Yeah,
but I think I would have Brian Giunta on the list ahead of Mogilny.
I argued for Giunta, and he had that 148 goal season. He was very consistent. It was, but he's not a name, so they're gonna put Gomez on there over him, or they're gonna, the Langenbrunner one surprised me just because he's not a name, didn't have crazy stats. So it's the kind of guy that you like, I think. But when I look at it, I just like what Nico Hischier has done so far. But the Langenbrunner is a Stanley Cup. So it's kind of, it's almost like comparing apples to oranges. You get Langenbrunner's prime versus Hischier from the start of his career to now. It's a hard argument, but it's definitely close.
Well,
when I saw Hughes on the list, I expected Hischier to be on there, but
yeah.
But Hughes is a star. He's the big American star. They want to talk about Hughes on this list. And I think Hughes is really good. And his 22-23 season is one of the best the Devils have ever had.
Was Taylor
First
Hall
team
on this
is
list?
insane. No. It's the Devils are probably one of the harder ones to put together, just because they have these little pockets of superstardom. And then just you either leave like Kovalchuk and Parise did, or you couldn't sustain it like a David Clarkson. You couldn't, or it's or it was a short term like Langenbrunner, who, well, actually, how long was Langenbrunner here? Like 6 or 7 years?
Yeah, just about. I mean, he came in 2002, 2003. I think he left in 2009, 10.
I know he got traded.
Yeah,
mid-season. You get traded back to Dallas? Am I remembering that right?
I think he traded to Boston. I don't remember.
Oh, Boston.
Don't remember.
That one. I think the list is close, so I can't really complain. But I did write about how I think Nico Hischier should have made the list.
Without a doubt.
But I'm ready for plugs. I have a lot to plug. So much stuff.
Why don't you plug away, Nick?
I've been plugging all show just because we have so much going on. But pucksandpitchforks.com, I have plenty of Jacob Markstrom articles up. Wrote about guys who could replace him if he's out longer term than we want. What just kind of looking at the injury right from the get, and also a video of what happens, so you gotta take a look. We're also going to get a bunch of other articles. John Bailey's about to write about Nico Dawes and why we should believe in Nico Dawes to just be the backup here and be fine while Markstrom's out. We're going to talk about Craig Patrick's going to write about Jacob Markstrom at the Four Nations and what his decision should be for that tournament, if he's ready to go. I also have Jenny Streeter, wrote about 5 trade targets the Devils should go after to pair with Jack Hughes. Some perfect pairings there. I wrote a funny one, Sam. The Canucks fans are off their rocker with these trade proposals. So I found 5 of my favorite Canucks trade proposals. And I put them together, and I wrote an article about each one. They're all insane, but they're fun. It's just kind of like a funny little thing. Like that's, for every so often we just have a little fun with an article. And then we also wrote a ton about Simone Nemitz. Mm-hmm. It looks like that report was just baloney, and we're learning more and more about how everything's fine with the Devils and Nemitz. But we wrote about that a lot. It was great fodder for the rest of the league. I saw a lot of articles across the Fansided Network trying to get them to trade Nemitz for peanuts. I literally had a guy tell me that Nemitz should be traded for guys who can't make the Senators roster. And I was like, why would we want that? It's like, well, he wants out. It's like, yeah, that's not how this works, buddy. It's just that's we are in weird times. The rumor mill is strange, and it begets not the best things.
Alrighty. Well, Nick, glad Markstrom is going to be okay. It's going to take a little time. We'll find out more tomorrow.
We hope so.
Yeah. We're hopeful. That Kevin Weeks is pretty good with his reporting.
Our guy.
Yeah.
We should have him on the podcast one time.
Hey, maybe he should be on that quarter century team.
Play for the Devils.
They should have the unsung heroes.
Listen, with Brodeur as your starter, you don't really need the best backup, so just make it Kevin Weeks.
I'm thinking Mike Dunham was good back in the day. Chris Terreri.
Terreri was the guy because if you remember, and Jacques Lemaire talked, or did Lemaire or Larry Robinson? Somebody talked about this last night, but Terreri had to play Boston because Brodeur couldn't play against Boston. And Terreri won that series against Boston in, was it 94 or 95?
I believe that was 94. No, 95. 95.
Yeah, so Terreri had to come in and save the Devils, and then Brodeur beat all the teams the rest of the way, but Terreri had to beat Boston. And that's the guy you want as the backup.
Yeah. All righty. Well, we're going to get out of here. Go to pucksandpitchforks.com for all your Devils needs. Till next time, let's go Devils.